You might laugh, but one of my favorite things to talk about and to cover on this channel are wall button stations. Why? Why do I get so excited about wall button stations? Well, architectural control or wall button stations, panels like these Springtree SM-8s that we've talked about in the past, are so stinking helpful in so many contexts, especially when what we see in the industry is so many venues, whether it be a music venue, a restaurant, a church, are going to color changing DMX based house lights and stage lighting. And then the only way to control it or to get it on is from a PC or a console or something like that, right? Having an architectural wall station changes that game. And the reason why is because now anybody, the kitchen staff, the owner, any staff member at this facility or volunteer in the case of a church can walk up, press a preset, and get lighting, okay? And that's the beautiful thing about stations like these. And in the past, honestly, this is one of those things that I rack my brain about constantly. Because in the past, you go back 5, 10 years, you had to find a system that was expensive, that could work or be compatible with your system. You had to find somebody who had the knowledge and understanding to install it. And then they would come on site, program it once, and you were stuck with that programming forever unless you brought them back out. This is the way it worked most of the time. Today, sure, if you've got a big system, if you've got a large campus, big spaces, multiple rooms, you've got some complex needs there, it makes sense to go with one of those systems. But for a lot of our users, a lot of our people here at Learn Stage Lighting, there's easier ways. So as I mentioned, in the past, we've talked about the Springtree SM-8. And these guys are great. They're so simple because you literally just have 8 buttons on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you program in different presets to those buttons. It brings DMX in and out, right through it. And once you put it into program mode, you simply press buttons to record, and now you're programming, you're creating those lighting scenes on this guy, this little wall station, right? And the Springtrees are cool. They're definitely not a moneymaker, definitely not what keeps their doors open or keeps Learn Stage Lighting gear in business, but they're a great solution for a lot of people. But they are simple. They can only record and play back a simple lighting scene. They can't, for example, do multiple cues on one button. You also have to keep one of your buttons as an off button if you want to be able to turn the system off. And if you were thinking about controlling other show control equipment like an audio mixer or a video switcher, then it's just not going to happen. This is a simple DMX device. It's good. It's good at what it does. We like them a lot. So today I want to show you something that we ran into recently. I've actually been familiar with this. This is the B-Station2 by a company called, called Visual Productions out of the Netherlands. And this one's been on my radar, actually, this company for a few years, but we couldn't get them in the US. There was no US supplier for them, so we just didn't get a chance to check them out till recently, okay? So we got ourselves some gear here. I'm just going to open this up. I want to do kind of an unboxing here, as well as talk about what this is. So the B-Station2 is a 6-button station, as you'll see on the picture there, right? Got 6 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the interesting thing about this is that all 6 of these buttons are backlit with RGB LEDs, okay? In terms of control, just to gloss over it quick, sure, you can bring in DMX, you can capture DMX, record it in, and have 6 buttons, right? And they light up when you have them on. You can have the lights turn off when you turn them off, okay? But the B-Station2 does so much more than that, and that's where we see it as a really good fit for a lot of customers. Because what you can do with it is you can basically control any type of show control equipment and do it in a fluid manner, okay? So you've got DMX. You can do ArtNet and SACN, the network DMX's products. So you can do input DMX, output DMX out of this guy, okay? Input or output ArtNet or SACN. But you can also do more than that. So you can do OSC, UDP. There's a lot of different protocols that you can use in order to trigger different show control devices. So now all of a sudden, you're not just controlling a lighting with this. Or maybe you're controlling a small lighting console in a closet. Or maybe, as the B-Station2s work, you can actually, for a simple installation, get a couple of these, or just one, patch actual lighting fixtures, build some little basic cues, and then have the ability for folks to press buttons. It doesn't stop there though, okay? The buttons don't have to be single cue. What? That's right. So you can make it so that you press once, you get something. You press another time, you get something else. You press a third time, it turns off. Something like that. You can take 4, for example, and make it red, green, blue, and white values, and say you start at 0, and the more you press it, you get more, or vice versa. And you can color mix that way on some simple LEDs. There's a lot of options as to what you can do. Let's take a look here at what's in the box, and then we'll definitely follow up with this video with kind of some practical use cases and things like that. So in the box, you get the B-Station2. Now you're gonna notice it is larger slightly than a typical, just a little bit larger than a typical single gang box. However, it can mount to a single gang box here in the US, an electrical box, or you could just mount it to the wall like a thermostat. Okay, so it's got a back plate here. We'll pop in here. That comes off. And then on the back here, you're probably hard to see, but you've got DMX, you've got Ethernet. It can work over PoE. You've got a reset button, your serial number, and that is about it. Okay, then there's this nice back box, as noted. Mount you to the wall, push the B-Station on, bring your cord right through for your PoE. You can use DMX or not. And you're good to go. Okay. Also in the box, nice packaging by the way. You get a short Ethernet cable, whatever. And what I like about these guys is they pop in there a quick start guide. So there's a basic quick start guide, shows you how to get started. What I love about Visual Productions and about these devices is anybody who's installed network-based equipment in the past knows that there are devices that are easy to set up for network control and devices that are difficult to set up, especially if they don't have an LCD on them like the B-Station2. It doesn't have an LCD, it doesn't have any way to see what the default IP address is or anything like that. But that's okay. On this card they explain there's a little LED on the back that lights up. You can switch it between DHCP and a fixed IP address. Okay? Then once you get it within a compatible address on your network, either via DHCP or by using the default address, you launch their little software. They've got a software called vManager. We'll go to it here in a minute. And it's going to find all your devices from their brand on your network. Okay? And then you can go control them just like that through their app. Okay? Next, stickers. All right. So, cool thing about these stickers is there are all these different label options that you have to be able to label these if you want to use their pre-made labels. Now, of course, you can get creative. There's other ways you can label them, but these pre-made labels are just self-adhesive, real easy to use. They work great. Okay, and so in terms of flexibility, there is just so much these B-Stations can do. So rather than just blabber about it here and talk about the LEDs and whatnot, let's go ahead. Let's plug it in real quick. Okay, so I'm going to grab a cable here. So, got a network cable here. It's got PoE on it, so all we need to do is, usually I'll run it through the back box correctly. Plug it in. Like so. And then you're going to see LEDs lighting up, so the RGB LEDs light up. It's now on our network. And now let's hop over to the computer and take a look at actually setting up the B-Station here from Visual Productions. All right, so I realize you can see all the junk on my screen, but it works for just showing off these guys. So I literally just plugged in that B-Station. It is this one that I just plugged in because I haven't upgraded the firmware, unlike this one that's plugged in over there. That's how I know the difference. And so now all we're going to do is go and hit Browse, and now I've got both my B-Stations up in the browser window. And so here's what the programming interface looks like for these guys. They're really powerful. So the basic thing, the way that I usually work, and there's a lot of options in here, is I go to settings and first set up, okay, am I using OSC to trigger things? And if you need help with this, we'll do more tutorials on this, etc. What's my network setup, my IP address, my net mask, etc. And then here are all the different things that you can do. So of course you can turn on blinking, so you can find the device on your network. See that? Boom, done, nice and easy. You could set a password over this interface, probably a good idea. In any installation where people have access to the network. There's some cloud stuff, but you have ARTnet, SACN, TCP/IP, OSC, DMX, KINet, and then your default values for the backlight LEDs of each button. Then programming-wise, I usually go to show control. Okay, and this is really nice. They've set this up where there's these templates. So you can build it all from scratch, but also you can bring in, hey, these are all OSC buttons. Hey, these are all DMX buttons. Hey, this is working with one of these two devices from Visual Productions, one of their other consoles. Or 6 buttons equals 6 cues, etc. And so then it's really as simple as adding a template. I like to start there. And then you basically get what are called actions in this second field, okay? And so the actions then means that Q1 is triggered when there's a trigger value called 1, and that's your button number, okay? So it's button 1, basically. I double clicked and now I'm editing, and then it plays playback 1, and then you press it again and it releases playback 1, okay? You see I just did it there and it turned green when I hit the button. I'll do it again. Okay, you can also, if you go in here and edit, whoops, you can now set your various other parameters. So it can be the button, but it can also be a toggle, like you gotta hold it down, or you can do counting or short presses or long presses, which is super cool. And then you can go ahead, you could set all sorts of stuff in here. Like I haven't really gotten into this as much as I would like to. As to all the different control options you have there. But you set all these up and then you're able to say, okay, what happens? Boom, it releases. Boom, perfect. You're able to go in here. So it's like press once to go. And then long press is a release. And we fired it. Boom, done. So there's a lot in here in the sense that you're able to go here, set up all these different sources, set up the buttons and the playbacks. Okay, so here, for example, when playback 1, which is triggered by Q1, button 1, is fired, then we have an action for LED 1 that's automatically been defined. And so I can edit that, and this is where, yes, okay. So this is where we're able to control that LED. And so I'm going to go, it had intensity set up, but then I'm also going to add a task for color, set, close. So then what that should do is, okay, that's right. So I was just in the wrong space. So what I think I'll do is actually just turn the off to, instead of an intensity control, a color control. But we'll set it to black, because then I'm only working with color and not intensity. So then we will just end up adding a intensity at full. It's on, then switch that back to color. Set our nice, we'll go to green this time. So on, cues on, cues off, cues on, cues off. So, the B-Station2 by Visual Productions. Definitely quickly becoming one of our top choices for lighting control in places where, you might go ahead and say, for example, you just go in here and patch fixtures. It can even get them from RDM. That's okay if you don't know what that is. You go in here and you can set some basic, like for LEDs, You could set some basic parameters and control, a handful of LEDs or RDM fixtures from this controller and record them into these different playbacks, and then off you go. So the Visual Productions B-Station2, again, quickly becoming one of our favorites for house light control. They also have their KIOSC, which is a really cool device. Here, I'll just go to their website, which is a really sweet device. So this is the B-Station2, but they have KIOSC, which is an app for tablets, or a standalone device, which is cool. The KIOSC Touch, which is a PoE-based little tablet, where you can lay out this screen however you want and do whatever you want and be able to control all sorts of different things quite easily. And so really cool stuff. Just one of those things I want to, bring to folks' attention so you can see, okay, these button stations, yes, they're a little more expensive than the Springtree ones, but if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you guys want to add some house light controls to a space where maybe you want to control DMX, maybe you want to have it actually send OSC messages to a console, maybe you want to have that ability to do different things on a screen like KIOSC here, and do so without breaking the bank and without having to necessarily bring in another company with some fancy expensive house light panel system in order to get it done. So if that sounds good to you, be sure to check out the B-Station2 and KIOSC over at Learn Stage Lighting Gear, and let us know what we can do. Below comment on any videos, anything you'd like to see, use cases, examples of how we use the B-Stations and KIOSC in real life examples to control lighting in a really cool space. So with that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.